Once upon a time, in a bustling marketplace filled with vibrant colors and tantalizing aromas, there lived an honest but unfortunate merchant. His once thriving business had fallen on hard times, leaving him drowning in debt. Day and night, the weight of his financial burdens pressed down on him, casting a long shadow over his life. He had exhausted all avenues, selling his possessions one by one, but the looming threat of bankruptcy still hung over his head like a menacing storm cloud. The merchant's heart sank with each passing day as he watched his hopes dwindle along with his dwindling finances. He had a kind and loving daughter, but the thought of leaving her destitute filled him with unbearable guilt and shame. His creditors, once patient and understanding, had now grown impatient, their demands for repayment becoming more frequent and their threats more menacing. The merchant's once pristine reputation was now tarnished by whispers of his financial woes, and the once friendly faces in the marketplace now greeted him with suspicion and disdain. He felt utterly alone, trapped in a spiral of despair with no escape in sight. The weight of his responsibilities pressed down on him, threatening to crush his spirit entirely. One fateful day, as the merchant wandered through the bustling marketplace, his mind racing with worry, he encountered a cunning and ruthless moneylender known throughout the land for his exorbitant interest rates and merciless tactics. The moneylender, a portly man with a sly smile and eyes that seemed to gleam with avarice, had heard whispers of the merchant's plight and saw an opportunity to exploit his desperation. With a predatory gleam in his eye, the moneylender approached the merchant and offered him a deal that seemed too good to be true. He would lend the merchant the money he so desperately needed, enough to clear his debts and start afresh. However, there was a catch, a cruel and unusual condition that sent chills down the merchant's spine. The moneylender proposed a game of chance, a twisted game with the merchant's future hanging in the balance. He would present two pebbles, one black and one white, and the merchant's daughter would have to choose one from a bag. If she chose the white pebble, her father's debts would be cleared, and they would be free from the moneylender's clutches. However, if she chose the black pebble, not only would their debts remain, but the merchant's daughter would be forced to marry the moneylender, becoming his bride and a prisoner in his opulent yet suffocating mansion. The merchant was horrified by this proposition, his heart sinking at the thought of his beloved daughter being forced into such a fate. The merchant's daughter was a young woman of remarkable intelligence and wit. She had inherited her father's kindness, but possessed a sharp mind that could unravel even the most cunning of schemes. When her father returned home, his face etched with worry and despair, she listened intently as he recounted his encounter with the ruthless moneylender and the impossible choice they now faced. Horror washed over her as she grasped the gravity of the situation. She couldn't bear the thought of her father losing everything, of their lives being destroyed by this cruel twist of fate. But the idea of being forced to marry the loathsome moneylender, a man old enough to be her father, filled her with a sense of dread that chilled her to the bone. As she pondered their predicament, her gaze fell upon the moneylender's parting gift, a small pouch containing the two pebbles that would decide their fate. An idea began to form in her mind, a glimmer of hope in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. She requested that her father bring her a bowl of water and a handful of pebbles from the garden path. With a mischievous twinkle in her eye, she whispered her plan to her father, a plan so audacious, so cunning, that it just might outwit the ruthless moneylender and save them from ruin. The next day arrived, heavy with anticipation and dread. The moneylender arrived at the merchant's modest home, his sinister smile evident as he relished the thought of the despair he was about to inflict upon them. He produced the pouch containing the two pebbles, his eyes gleaming with avarice. The merchant's daughter, her face betraying no hint of her plan, calmly requested a moment to prepare herself. With a theatrical flourish, she instructed a servant to bring forth a bowl of water and proceeded to pour the pebbles from the moneylender's pouch into the bowl. The moneylender, confident in his deception, watched with amusement as she stirred the pebbles with her finger. However, his smug smile faltered as he noticed something peculiar. Both pebbles in the bowl were black. The merchant's daughter, feigning shock and disappointment, exclaimed, "Oh dear, it seems there has been a mistake. Both pebbles are black. However, I am certain that a man of your impeccable reputation would never resort to such trickery. Therefore, the only logical explanation is that I must have dropped the white pebble on the ground." With that, she reached down and with a flourish, revealed a single black pebble clutched tightly in her hand, the pebble she had secretly palmed from the garden path the night before. The moneylender was speechless, completely caught in his web of deceit. He had been outsmarted by the merchant's clever daughter, his carefully crafted plan crumbling before his very eyes. The merchant, his heart swelling with pride and relief, watched in astonishment as his daughter's quick thinking saved them from certain ruin. The moneylender, his face flushed with anger and humiliation, could do nothing but admit defeat.